Bonjour, Tanji, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to a very, very special episode of Metis Time Capsule, a true, eerie Metis mystery. And put this in your mindset, your mind frame. A Metis leader's name, a vanished town, the village of Norquay, Manitoba, that simply disappeared into the prairie, just like the prairie winds taking it away. What secrets and stories sleep beneath the tall prairie grass? And if you haven't guessed it already, folks, you're with your host, Alexandria Anthony. And I love a great mystery just as much as I love sharing my proud Métis history and culture, folks. Very important. Ghost towns with their melancholy memories and blighted hopes are few in Manitoba, but some loomed large in pioneer history for a mere brief day. Norquay, named in honor of the first Métis Manitoba Premier, Honorable John Norquay, who truly guided the turbulent destinies of the province of Manitoba from 1879 to 1887. The village of Norquay was founded around 1880, and of course, we're to assume, we're to guess, was named after Honorable John Norquay, the Premier of Manitoba. And the village really promised to become a metropolis that was located less than 100 miles from Winnipeg. So there was hope, there was promise that this would be a hustling, bustling village. But truly had vanished without a trace. There was no mention in the postal guide, and there is no house on the site today. And the village of Norquay was, of course, not viable for long, but the community at the time centered around a church and school. What remains of Norquay, the village of Norquay, and where did its people go? Yet there was a time in Winnipeg and the West that men and women who were born in Norquay or who, as pioneers, worked and endured unbelievable hardships in their energetic determination to found a new community there, a new life, a new beginning. And again, visualize this. A skulking wolf may find shelter in the second growth timber, which covers the scars of man's habitation there, spreading a mantle over the depressions and ancient rubble where once stood homes, stores, and mills. So let's get right into the mystery surrounding the village of Norquay in Manitoba. A.K. Barrie was really a leading spirit in the plan to put Norquay on the map. And Charles Holland and Thomas H. Pentland selected the site of the village of Norquay really on rumors that a railway would pass through that area. So what better place, location to put a village right smack where the railroad would come through? Sounds like a great idea. Nestled in the hopes of settlers and built with faith in the steel tracks of the railway, the village of Norquay, Manitoba, literally sprang to life. It sprang up from the very dust of the prairie in the late 1880s. T.H. Pentland served as postmaster, and the first house was built by Dr. Baldwin. There was, of course, a hotel built and operated by the Priors, and you could guess it, called Prior Hotel. William Brown was a blacksmith, and Ed Newley a tinsmith, and W. Holland was a co-owner of a general store along with Thomas Pentland. And there was also a land conveyancer, an issue of marriage licenses, and a general agent. So again, also a justice of the peace. So you have all the building blocks, you have all the foundation for a very vibrant village, you have all the pieces that you need to bring it all together. And the biggest piece is the rumor that the railroad's going to come smack right through that village of Norquay. And John McIntosh and Elizabeth Westbrook, they came west in 1881 from McIntosh Mills, Ontario. And of course, there's no guessing here. They operated a mill that was later moved, unfortunately, to Manitou in 1893. So you can kind of see the time frame there. They came 1881, and then they moved their mill to Manitou in 1893. So you can kind of see a timeline coming together. And D. Corbett is listed as operating a chopping mill, and that could have preceded Mr. McIntosh's grist mill, or perhaps was sort of a separate operation, a separate entity onto itself. In the spring of 1881, A.K. Barrie reached Emerson, Manitoba, and his immediate objective was near the village, of course, of Norquay, some 50 miles to the west. So we're giving sort of a scope there that A.K. Barrie reached Emerson, Manitoba, and then he was going to go to the village of Norquay, indicating that Norquay was 50 miles to the west of Emerson, Manitoba. And Mr. Barrie, who had been a butcher in England and who had brought all of his butchering tools with him, no brainer there, built a combination butcher shop and slaughterhouse in the village. And his first customers were the boarding house keeper and other locals who flocked to buy their first fresh meat in 6 months. Dr. Pennyfather and his family had come to Norquay as well, but his wife found that the location, the place, was far too isolated. So that again gives us a picture in our mind that the village of Norquay was truly in an isolated location. And upon completion of his house, he moved his family again to Manitou. Mrs. Pennicott, who served as a midwife, also was a very good nurse. So important if you're going to have a community, a town or a village, that you have a nurse, you have a midwife. Of course, a school was built, but it was soon closed when all the families started to move away from Norquay Village. And the English church held a service on Sundays in a shanty. And they were the first Anglican services in this general area. And when Reverend Pinkham went to Norquay in 1884, Dr. Baldwin gave a site for a rectory. The nearest railway line at this time was the CPR, again at Manitou. So we keep hearing the name of the town of Manitou, Manitoba. So we know that Again, a lot of people, we have Dr. Pennyfather moving his family to Manitou. And again, that the nearest railroad at that time was at Manitou, which was 60 kilometers away from the site of Norquay Village. And the CPR put a line 8 miles north at Holland in Manitoba, and the NCR laid tracks 4 miles south at Swan Lake. And without the railroad, without the iron rail, the high hopes of the village of Norquay quickly faded. So here we have two individuals who decided to form this village of Norquay on the high hopes that the iron rail would come right through Norquay. But as we know, folks, indeed, the iron rails never came to the village of Norquay. With no railroad to anchor its future, the village of Norquay, of course, began to fade into history, fade into the prairie dust. And of course, buildings were abandoned, dreams scattered like prairie dust. Maps were changed, memories dimmed. Norquay it soon became a whisper on the prairie wind, beginning with high hopes, high dreams of a new community, a new beginning, a new village with the iron rail rumored to be coming in. The general store, of course, was moved, and in a few years, there was not a trace of the village of Norquay to be found. There wasn't a single trace that the village of Norquay even existed. And we do know that, in fact, yes, the village of Norquay certainly existed, because there is documentation in government archives through an indenture dated March 14th, 1882, between Charles Holland saying that he is a resident, he is of the village of Norquay. And this indenture was between R.C. Boyle in the amount of $2,880. So you'll see that on your screen. That is proof that the village of Norquay certainly existed. We also know that there is a Norquay Cemetery, also known as Norquay Old Village Cemetery, and Swan Lake Pilot Mound Census Division, Provincial Road 32.5 North in Swan Lake, Manitoba, folks. There also is, again, the small cemetery in the municipality of Lorne, established in 1882, that contains 5 headstones, and it is on the south side of a small bluff of trees, but it is not visible from the nearby road. The mystery for me, folks, and you know me, I like to have clear-cut answers. The mystery truly lies in why the village was named Norquay. I mean, we can guess, we can ascertain that certainly its name derives from the Honorable John Norquay, who at that particular time was the Premier of Manitoba, and for a time after he was a railway commissioner as well. We also know that Norquay was an unsuccessful candidate for the area of Margaret in the 1872 federal election. And of course, he also indeed was the first Métis Premier of Manitoba from 1878 to 1887. During that time frame, that the village of Norquay was indeed in existence, was around at that particular time. So we get another clue there. And Also, like many other Canadian politicians in the 19th century, John Norquay developed much of his attention to, he really devoted his attention to railway development. And during the 1880s, many entrepreneurs in Manitoba tried to develop local rail lines to really reduce transportation costs. So, can we guess, can we assume, was the village of Norquay in Manitoba a product of all this? You can really see in your mindset the rumors of the iron rail coming to Norquay. What a great location to have a village, a vibrant hub where you have a butcher shop, you have a school, you have a church, you have a nurse, you have all the tools, everything that you need to have a very vibrant community. And all of a sudden, your hopes and dreams fall through and poof, vanish into the sky, just like the prairie dust. The rail, the iron rail, does not come through the village of Norquay. So hopes, dreams are indeed shattered, and businesses close down, people move away, and the village of Norquay ceases to exist. There's no trace of the village of Norquay that it even existed. So, in my mind, folks, it is a true Manitoba Metis mystery on the village of Norquay. And I certainly invite you to investigate, to research more. And if you are around and you can drive through the old Norquay Cemetery, I think it would be quite interesting, and it's something to look more into. And we can't forget this weekend, very, very important day on May 11th, 2025, is Mother's Day. Such a very important day that we honor the women that held us close to their heart for our reason for being, folks. And la journée pour il mama. So I want to wish all of the mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. And also that includes all the kookums out there, grandmas, what have you. And there's also fathers that are single parents that take on the leadership, the role of mothers. Certainly you're included in all that. And I hope you found this special mystery segment of Metis Time Capsule interesting, because I sure did. And I've known about the village of Norquay in Manitoba for a very long time. And it's always something that's stuck in the back of my mind as a true Manitoba mystery. And not to be confused, there is also a Norquay in Saskatchewan we are referring to in this segment, the village of Norquay in Manitoba that simply ceased to exist and vanished into the prairie skies. And again, as always, folks, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. It truly, truly means a lot. Marseille, and I am as well working on segment part 3 of Métis Trailblazers, and you're not going to want to miss it. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you who have put forth names of incredible Métis individuals to include in the Métis Trailblazers series. I am grateful to you, and I thank you. And as well, thank you. And as always, take care of yourself, folks, and do something good for your mother as well. Again, it is Mother's Day, folks, so certainly celebrate our mothers and enjoy your weekend.